Hi, my name is Beth Nam. I'm a PhD student at Texas A&M University. Today I'll be presenting about my research called Hacking the Creative Mind, an insight priming tool to facilitate creative problem solving. This research stems from my own personal interest after a long struggle with my creative process. This is my creative process timeline. I've been feeling exhausted by the unnecessary process of searching for creativity. And the critical part of this process is that it does not guarantee that I'll have good outcome at the end after a long search. I wanted something that was immediate and scientifically proven to facilitate my creativity. Creativity is defined as the production of effective novelty that helps adapting to changes and to solve real-world problems. If creativity is a whole process of how we come up with new ideas, during the process we might experience an aha moment like a strong feeling of knowing that comes unexpectedly and suddenly. This experience is what we call insight, a step along the way of creativity, but an important one that determines novelty and the quality of outcomes. So we don't want to have just any creativity, we want one with insight. Given the recent advances in neuroscience, a number of papers have examined the facilitation of insight through non-invasive brain stimulation using transcranial direct current stimulation called TDCS. The basic concept is that you use electrical charge to stimulate a certain part of the brain. Based on the evidence that the activation of the right anterior temporal lobe is associated with insight and novel meaning, the anodal stimulation was applied to the area of right anterior temporal lobe and resulted in significant enhancement in performance with insight problems. These studies suggest that such tasks benefit from the release of cognitive control, yet the specificity of TDCS remains somewhat controversial in the research community. Studies using TDCS are proven to be most effective in a lab setting, but it's difficult to apply such techniques in real life. It's also challenging to investigate insight systematically due to its unexpected and generally unpredictable occurrence. Taking these into consideration, I want you to explore the possibility of cognitive stimulation enhancing insight, not electrical stimulation. So I came up with the following research question. How can insight be reliably induced by cognitively activating the purported neural areas that support insight processing? An exploratory study was set up with a within-subject design consists of priming tasks, such as types of problems that are conventionally used in the insight research. Each priming task was set up to see how it affects the main task. This indicates the brain and right anterior temporal lobe, which is a neural correlate of insight. Brain activation-wise, there is no activation in a control condition called neutral, where there is going to be no priming task. And for the treatment conditions, a global and non-affected perceptual task will be given. It stimulates a broad activation in brain, but not particular, and it will not involve emotion. For this, number counting task is assigned to participants with a 21-digit string and a target number to count as a priming task. Another one is a global affective semantic processing task, which has a broad activation in brain and also affective. A joke and a punchline will appear on the screen with a slight time interval. Lastly, there is local affective perceptual task where it's specific to right anterior temporal lobe and affective. A picture of a face with a different facial emotion will be presented on the screen and participants will be asked to identify the emotions. Overall, participants are asked to do the priming tasks and then provide answers to 120 CRA problems. The CRA problems are randomized into 4 blocks of 30 trials, each throughout the study. At the end of each set, the question will be given whether the solution was reached with insight or with analysis. I have conducted the experiment with 47 participants so far. It shows that there is a priming effect as all the treatment conditions are scored higher than the neutral condition. Despite the fact that the FER task was set up to stimulate right anterior temporal lobe, the joke condition came in the highest, then NC, and FER. For the correct answers with insight report, still the joke condition was the highest, then FER, neutral, and NC was the lowest. I also saw the gender difference among conditions, especially with FER, where the female participants did significantly better than the male participants. The significance of the study is that it addresses a novel way to facilitate insight, which there is not much research done in the area to cognitively induce insight. Also, this is a non-invasive way to facilitate creativity where it can be done in a remote setting. The ultimate goal of this research is to create a real-world application that users can easily utilize to enhance their creative problem-solving abilities before the many tasks. Thank you for listening.